All right, thanks, Jess. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the hearing to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty One territory, the home and the traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson tonight. Introducing the panel members is Valerie Warhan via Zoom and Mr. Harvey Diamond via Zoom. Our recording secretary is Jaswinder Kumar, and representing the city from the assessment department is Savada Lana Kopopo. I'm sorry, that's the best I can do. Anyways, tonight we'll be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll according to the Municipal Assessment Act. The matter for which revision is requested has been described in each application, and we'll limit discussions to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn in testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered market evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent along with the city administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence provided at this hearing and usual written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board decision in respect to application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing tonight, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in, and have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then it'll be the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all that evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket tonight. The session will close after all applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the board decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. Tonight, we'll be hearing items 1 to 6 on our docket. Mr. Kumar, can you please affirm the assessor and confirm the applicant, Mr. Reimer?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Madam Assessor, please state your full name.
My name is Svetlana Shaibal.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Reimer, please state your full name.
There you go, Reimer.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. We will first deal with the first property that we have, which is 3455 Portage Avenue. Svetlana, I'm sorry for butchering your name. The floor is yours in regards to taking us through this property. Thank you.
File number 22-1224. Roll number 0721000100. Address is 3755 Portage Avenue. We are valuing the property as it stands of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition as April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, in this assessor opinion, that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $1,984,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property, it's a vehicle service related. Located on page number 2, I provide subject property pictures. It's located north west of the city. On page 3, 3 more subject property photos. The subject property located on land area of 26,533 square feet with leasable area of 3,075 square feet. It's located in zoning C2 commercial community. This district intends to accommodate more intensive commercial sites that do not have a local or neighborhood orientation. This district is intended to include attractive commercial, institutional, recreational, and service facility needed to support the surrounding neighborhood in broader community. On page number 5, I provide a pair sale analysis of vacant land. You can see that on, for example, my resale number 1 was sale in 2017. Second sale was in 2019. It's a price difference 30%. Number of months between sale 21%. So percentage change per month 1.43%. All my 6 resale showed that average change per month 0.91%. On media change per month 0.87%. I did assess subject land, vacant land. It's on page number 6. We can see that subject property located neighborhood area 209 Buchanan. It's a C2 commercial, assessed lot size 26,553 square feet. Land influence, bus road, external corner, heavy traffic. Total assessment per lot size, $74.72. On same page, I provided 4 comparables. My first comparables, 309-2999-205. It's located in Westwood West. Has land area 18,456 square feet. Same zoning, C2 commercial. Has influence, same bus road, media traffic, highway. Sale was in January 2021 for 1,750,000 square feet. And sale price $94.82. My second comparables on 2525 Pembina Highway, located in Fairfield Park, has a land area 53,721 square feet, has same land influence bus road, heavy traffic, same like subject property, external corner, similarly subject property, plus rails line. Sale was in December 15, 2017 for $6,900,000. So sale price per square foot, $128.44. My first land sale comparables on 634 Portridge Avenue, neighborhood West Broadway, land area 34,909 square feet, same zoning, C2 community commercial, land influence bus road, bus stop, heavy traffic, external corner, very similar to the subject property. Sale in 2019, December 3rd, for $2,650,000. So sale price per square foot, $75.91. My fourth comparables, 380 Osborne Street, Riverview, has land area 17,408 square feet, same commercial C2 community zoning, has land influence, bus road, heavy traffic, external corner, park. It's sale in 2018 in January 2nd for 1,392,500. So our sale price $79.99. When we estimate mean or average or for comparables, it's $94.79. In median on $87.41. We did assess total area on lot size $74.72. It's fair. On page number 7, I presented rent comparables for gas station, kiosk, car wash altogether. 14 comparables showed mean on $56.28, in media $32.32. If we go and buy income, subject property market income, our vehicle car wash was assessed at $10.41 for leasable area 935 square feet. We did apply vacancy loss 2%, expenses 3%, shortfall $6 per square foot, a capitalization rate 6.35%. Give an estimate value of car wash $144,000. On page number 9, I have presented, we can see a kiosk and gas pump, leasable area 2,140 square feet, rent per square foot $39.31. We did apply vacancy loss 2%, expenses 3%, shortfall $6 per square foot. We did apply 5.7% capitalization rate, plus additional building value of $442,000. If you look on bottom on same page, subject property detached structure details, its pump altogether give us total $460,000. In our estimation, we apply $442,000. Give us estimate value of $1,840,000. So summary page on page number 10. If altogether we apply leasable area 3,075 square feet, rent $13.52, it gives us potential rent $93,856 square feet dollar. We apply vacancy loss 2%, give us effective gross income around $92,000. Expenses 3%, $6 per square foot shortfall. Overall capitalization rate 5.76. Additional adjustment $442,000. Give us estimate market value $1,984,000. On page 13 on 14, I presented income expense mail provided for us. It's owner occupied property. Let's look on my rent comparable started on page 15. Kiosk 7-Eleven on 1091 Henderson was leased in 2010 and for 20 years for leasable area 2,500 square feet at $20 per square foot. On page number 16, 1017 Henderson, Red River Co-op. It was lease sized 1995 to July 2037. Area 1,680 square feet at $51.22. On page number 17, car wash on True Blue Car Wash on 7061 Pembina was leased in 2015 until 2024 for area of 6,480 square feet and $9 per square foot. On page 18, we have another kiosk, 7-Eleven, on 406 Edison Avenue, leased in 2009 for 2024 for 3,200 square feet at $23.44 together. On page 19, we have Doma Gasoline with kiosk and pump on 296 Madison. Lease start in 2018 until 2022, area 112 square feet for $116.71 per square foot. On page number 20, we have another kiosk, 7-Eleven of 120 Keewatin Street. A lease was started in 2016 until 2023 for 2,800 square feet at $13 per square foot. My another comparable on page 21, it's a Safeway gas bar on 1626 Mass. Lease started in 2019 until 2023 for 540 square feet at $92.59. On page 22nd, we have Superstore gas bar on 1584 Region. Lease started in 2020 for 5 years for 364 square feet at $159.61. On page 23, we have Shell Store Car Wash on 619 Sterling Line. Lease started in 2013 for 10 years for 3,625 square feet together at $31.72. On page 24, we have Norgate Car Wash on 1361 McPhillips. Lease started in 2017 until 2022 for 3,316 square feet at $14.51. On page 25, we have Osborne Husky gas station and 705 Osborne. Lease started 2019 and lease end 2024 for 1,336 square feet together at $32.93 per square foot. On page 26, we have Husky Energy on 1567 Arlington Street. Lease started in 2019 until 2024 for 1,296 square feet at $26.62. On page 27, we have Inster Park Convenience kiosk at 1484 Inster. Lease started in 2017 until 2023 for 500 square feet at $75.98. On page 28, 1180 Nairn, we have Suncor Energy kiosk and pump for lease started 2019, will be ended 2024 for 840 square feet at $59.52. On page 29, we can see land sale comparables. I presented one comparables just for land at my first comparables 30929999205. same zoning, C2 commercial, was sold in 2021 for $94.82. Second comparables on page 29 at 2525 Pembina Highway was sold in 2017 for $128.44. On page 30, I have land sale comparables for 634 Portridge commercial C2 commercial zoning. A sale was in 2019 at $75.91. My comparables on 380 Osborne Street C2 commercial zoning lease sale was in 2018 at $79.99. If you're going back to my summary page, for example, on page number 6, so my land sale comparables, full land sale comparables showed media of $87.41. If you look on top, we assess per lot size $74.72. If you look on summary sheet on page number 7, media of 14 comparables, they mixed with it has kiosk, car wash, gas barn. 14 comparables showed $32.32 in mean or average $56.28. We did assess, if you look on page number 10, leasable area 3,075 square feet at $13.52. So it's fair. So based on evidence and this report, this assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $1,984,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Savannah. Mr. Reimer, questions of the assessor?
Yes, thank you very much. Ms. Schabel, could we go to initially to your page 6, please? On page, let me know when you're there.
Yes, I'm here.
You're there? Okay. So on page 6, we've got a total of 4 land sale comparables. Now, comparable number 2, starting with that one at 2525 Pembina, the zoning on that is RMFL, which was multifamily, correct?
Correct.
And are you aware of what's been developed on the parcel since it was purchased?
In my case, it was a sale in 2017, and I looking for sale of vacant land.
Understand.
And when they decide to develop, the zoning could be changed easily.
Are you aware that there's an apartment, in fact, developed on that site?
Yeah, it's okay. Right now zoning multifamily, correct.
Well, not just zone, but it's actually developed as a multifamily building.
Since 2017, sure. Correct.
And 634 Portage, so that's the old McNaught dealership, correct? Are you, or maybe I shouldn't presume you know. Were you aware that that's the old McNaught dealership?
In my case, I say it's just vacant land, comparable number 1 cent for $94.82 per square foot.
Indeed, but I'm asking you about comparable number 3, Ms. Schabel. So 634 Portage, that's the old McNaught. I take it you weren't aware that's the old McNaught dealership. Are you familiar with the purchaser and the circumstances involved with that purchase?
This was purchased in 2019. It's a square footage a little bit bigger than the subject property, but it was sold for $75.91.
Certainly, and that's located, 634 Portage is located just on the cusp of downtown, just a couple of blocks west of the intersection of St. Mary Avenue and Portage, correct?
Correct. I was trying to find comparables close to the Portage C2 commercial community.
Yep,
plus
total-
square footage very close to 26,000 square feet.
Oh,
What I
sure.
found for them.
But we can agree that the location of that parcel at just, I'm looking at 3 blocks from essentially the edge of downtown is much different than the subject, which is located 2 blocks from the west perimeter. The locations of the 2 properties are significantly different. Can we agree on that?
But still they have same land influence, bus road, heavy traffic, external corner like subject property. If you look on top of my page number 6.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, but I gather
It
but-
was sale plus in 2019. It should be upward adjustment for time. If you look on my page number 5, I showed pair or resale analysis. It showed that per month sale increase 0.91%. And you can see in 2019, this property was sale around $76 per square foot. We have adjust for 2 years, and we still assess $74.72. It's fair.
Ms. Shable, you're not answering the question. Are you aware that this property, the location of the property, I take it at a minimum, we can agree the location of the property is 2 blocks west of the intersection of St. Mary Avenue, I should say, in Portage, correct?
Correct. If you see
And
it's neighborhood West Broadway, yeah.
Exactly. And are you aware that the property was purchased by P3, the company called P3 for multifamily residential development?
Yes, you confirm that zoning right now, it's during purchase, it was zoning C2 commercial, but now it's multifamily construction, so zoning can be changed. That's why I use my comparables number 2.
Right. So comparable number 2, which was multifamily zoning and now is developed with an apartment building, and comparable number 3, which was purchased for the purpose of multifamily development. We can agree then that both those parcels were purchased with the intent to develop as multifamily developments, correct?
Each property purchased to develop something, and you can see comparables number 3, zoning from commercial C2 was changed to multifamily.
Okay. And for the property at 380 Osborne Street, that's a property that's on Osborne, a few blocks south of what's commonly known as Confusion Corner. That's a property that, and you don't have it on here, you've got park, but that's a property that actually backs onto a park that in turn backs onto the Red River, correct?
Yes, and you can see the sale was in 2018. We have upward adjustment for time and still sell for $18 per square foot, and we assess $75 per square foot. It's fair, it's reasonable.
And so with 380 Osborne, are you aware that has also been developed for apartments? That there's an apartment building physically on that site right now?
Yes, and it's also was a C2 commercial community and has same land influence, bus road, heavy traffic, external corner. So we can see that this subject property valuable land.
So you're not making any distinction in between the location of 380 Osborne, which backs onto the river close to Confusion Corner, and 634 Portage on the, not in downtown, but at the periphery of downtown, both of which were purchased with multifamily. You haven't made any adjustments for those, correct? For all of those factors.
It was sale for $18 per square foot, should be upward adjustment for 3 years time adjustment, plus it's and down in subject property assess 75. It's yes, it's superior, but we assess 75. It's fair.
Now, are any of these the properties that are listed here on page 6? None of those, and I am familiar with certainly with 634 Portage. That it was an auto dealership that prior to it being sold as a vacant parcel. But none of the properties I gather that you've listed here are service station properties of any kind.
No,
like they haven't in the past been
I
service
was
station.
looking for commercial zoning.
Yep.
And close
Okay.
to 27 square feet thousand.
Fair enough. Okay. So if we go to your page 7, which are your rent comparables? We can agree, Ms. Shable, that our evaluation date, called the reference date in the legislation, our evaluation date is April 1 of 2021.
Correct.
And so I'm looking at the information you've provided. And certainly I commend you for trying to do a very thorough job, but I guess my suggestion would be of the comparables there. We've got indices number 7, 8, 11, 12, and 14. Those are the comparables that are closest to the reference date. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
Okay. And now I did the math, Ms. Shable, because certainly it's been my experience that when you're talking about gas station and gas bar operations, the translation of a rate per square foot, the rent becomes much more meaningful when you're talking about some of these smaller kiosks, such as number 7 and number 8 specifically. So the range that I show, Ms. Shable, for the indices that I've just mentioned ranges from a low of 34,500 for the gas station up to the highest being 58,098, and that's the superstore on Regent under a lease dated November 20. So would you agree that based on those comparables, the range of the information closest to the reference date is between $34,500 and $58,000?
You can see I provided 14 comparables. If you look on my page, comparables number 1, this lease for 20 years. All my lease end before reference date. So I will consider it all 14 of them. It's what reported to us. It can be.
Certainly, and you're entitled to consider whatever you would choose to do, Ms. Shable. I'm not disputing that. I am suggesting, though, that the best indicators, being those indices that I talked about, those would be, at a minimum, we can agree those are the indicators closest to the reference date then, correct? That's indices 7, 8, 11, 12, and 14.
It's close to reference day, yes, correct.
Okay. Now with
but
that
all
rate,
together give us $32.52, and we did assess only $13.52. It's fair, it's reasonable.
Ms. Shable, see, that's where I believe you're being, that's disingenuous. The reason I say that is, and that's the reason why I said the rate per square foot is misleading, because for instance, when you've got a rate in index number 8, which I just referenced, with a area of 364 square feet, and the rent is extremely high, but that translates then, that's why I'm suggesting to you that the rate per annum is much more meaningful, and that's the $58,000 rate. If you want to look at comparable sizes, that would be similar to comp indices 1, 2, 6, 9, and 10. And if you looked at those rates, that would result in a much different number, would it not?
I would like to mention that I found only 14 comparables reported to us. Rest of similar property reported land rent only.
Right.
So it's best what I can found.
Yeah, no, and as I say, I commend you for doing the research, because this is I'm quite familiar with the gas bar and gas kiosk and service station operations, and this is a comprehensive list. I guess my approach to Ms. Shable is that I prefer to look at the indicators closest to the reference date, and actually what you're going to see is that our data that in that respect is actually quite similar. As I'd mentioned, and I know your perspective on the totality of it is different, but with those indices in mind closest to the reference date, the highest being at 58,000, the rent applied by the department, and I take it if we move briefly to your page 9, this is actually the gas station component, not including the car wash. The rent there of 84,000, that's a model driven rent, correct? In fact, all of these parameters are model driven, correct?
Correct. It's a store in pump together, yes.
And
2,140 square feet.
Right, and but to be clear, the adjustments, the additional building value that it's called there, 442,000. That's actually, if I'm reading the information
It's
correctly,
pumping, yeah,
yeah, it's pumps, tanks, and canopies,
Mhm.
right? Okay,
correct. Detached
so
structure, yes, correct.
right. Okay, so that's the adjustments for those items, which is consistent with what I've seen as well. And again, for as far as the income approach goes, for both the car wash and for the service station or the gas bar operation, those have been entirely model driven, right, from rent through to cap rate, correct?
Correct. If you look on page number 10, you can see
Yes,
$13.52.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reimer. Ms. Warhan, questions of the applicant?
No,
Or I'm
actually,
sorry,
most of my questions
the
were
assessor.
answered. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Diamond?
Yeah, so Ms. Scheiber, are you saying that the property should be valued on a square footage valuation or on income generating valuation? Like, what are
I
you looking-
provide two approaches, vacant land, and I approach showed it's reasonable. It showed reasonable, less than $75 per square foot compared to my comparables, $87 per square foot. Plus, I provide income approach. For it showed $13.52 per square foot for all leasable area.
So are you relying on both, or are you?
I
putting-
rely on both, yeah, because it's when I search for my rent comparables on number 7, I came across most of them reported land lease.
Okay, so I see that on the car wash you're using a 6.35 cap rate, and on the kiosk gas bar you're using 5.7. Where does the 5.7 cap rate come from?
It's a model driven. If you look on my page number 11,
Yeah.
on page number 11, it's this property in our data, it's office. It's between 5.6 to 6.9 range. It's for between 20-80 percentile. It showed 60% of the properties, 5.6 to 6.9% cap rate range.
So you're saying you're evaluating this as an office?
Yes. In
Not
our
retail?
case, no.
Why is it not retail? It seems to me that it's not, it's more retail if it sells things to the public. How do you get an office there?
If you will be retail, it's completely different assessment, different rent capitalization rate. In our case, it's suburban office park.
Okay, where's the
Property.
evidence that establishes that? You're telling us that, but I don't see it anywhere.
All car services belong to office space, office type of properties.
So when they do car repairs, you're saying it's an office, not industrial, not retail. Does that make sense?
It's what our model generated.
I don't know where that says that. It seems ludicrous to me.
It's office space.
Okay, well, you keep on saying that. I don't know how you get office there, but maybe Mr. Reimer will be able to clarify that for us, because you're not. Thank you. I have no more questions.
I thank you. I just have a couple questions. I guess when I don't know about doing two approaches to value. Normally, the assessment department should hang their hat on one approach. Do you agree?
Model generated, I showed you two approaches. I explained why. Because when I was looking for rent comparables for income approach, I came across a lot of rent land leases. That's why I presented two to make sure we're doing right. And both approaches showed that our assessment fair and should be confirmed.
What is the highest and best use for this property?
Like exist, it's a car wash, kiosk, and pump gas.
So
Gas
wouldn't
bar.
you, so if you're gonna do an evaluation for a property, you'd look at the highest and best use, and that is the existing use. So wouldn't you value it? Not in regards to, it's not vacant land, but the land does have value, but it's got structures on it.
Correct.
So I don't know how you get there with, as Mr. Diamond had said, there's income to this property. And so you should do a income approach for the property. Is that not true?
That's why on page 8, on page 7, started income approach rent comparables. 7, 8, 9, and 10. I can use 3 approaches. It's my choice. In my case, I decide use 2 approaches.
Well,
Because
you
most of my market evidence.
You can use as many approaches as you want. But I
Yes,
mean,
correct.
what is the correct one? What is the correct one?
It's up to you to decide. In both my approaches showed that our assessment is fair.
All right. I thank you. Mr. Reimer, your presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. If I might just ask for the board's and Ms. Shabel's indulgence for a couple of minutes, I'm just going to give a few opening remarks because it's going to sort of set the framework for the discussion for the rest of the evening, which hopefully won't drag on too very long. We're taking the approach very firmly that two fundamental differences in our approach relative to the departments. A, we're classifying all of these properties fundamentally as retail properties. What you're going to see, though, there's actually one property on the docket tonight that really doesn't fit as well. Two. One fits kind of sort of well. One doesn't fit very well. But at the end of the day, I believe the property that I'm referring to could actually be classified as an industrial warehouse more so than anything else. But in any event, we've classified and we're valuing the subject in most of the properties tonight as retail. When you've got a Red River Co-op, gas bar and convenience store and car wash, that fund, and Mr. Diamond, in my view, hit it on the head. It's just fundamentally a retail operation. It's the retail sales of gasoline, retail sales of taco chips, Pepsi, cigarettes, whatever you want to get out of that convenience store. There's no difference fundamentally between that operation and a 7-Eleven, for instance. So that's a fundamental difference with point number one. Point number two, I have concerns, as one might expect from the questions I asked relative to the transactions, the land sales that Ms. Shabel's presented, and I appreciate her efforts, but certainly I'm going to suggest that the comparable sales, when you're talking about properties that fundamentally it's very, very clear they were trading for a completely different purpose. In one case, they was zoned for that purpose, being multifamily. In the other 2 cases, the properties were purchased with the full intent, and I'm suggesting the very clear planning or pre-planning to develop as multifamily, and in the case of one other property on Osborne, it's actually been developed as such. So if I could then, with those comments in mind, both for this hearing and the other matters going forward, if I could ask the board to turn briefly on my main brief then for this property. Let's start with page 8, please. And I'd mentioned earlier, and if you recall my comments, Mr. Chairman, or my questions of Ms. Shabel, one of the concerns I have relates to the geography here, and this property is located at 3755 Portage, just a stone's throw from the perimeter highway, from the west perimeter. It's a co-op gas bar and car wash and convenience store. And we're treating it, as I say, as a retail property. It's located at the corner of Portage Avenue, and I'm trying to read the street name. Oh, it's Bister. And as you can see on the map on the bottom of page 8, it's just a few blocks from the west perimeter. If we turn then, and I'm going to be very succinct in my comments, mindful of timelines tonight. If we turn to page 13, as I've mentioned, we're evaluating it using the income approach exclusively. We do believe that's the appropriate approach, and the municipal board sort of confirmed that for these income generating types of properties. If you recall, Mr. Chairman, I'd asked Ms. Shabel concerning her gas station operations and the rental range. And as you can see on my page 13, the rental ranges are actually remarkably similar. In fact, I've got a rent of $71,483 at Kenniston Boulevard that's higher than the annual rent that were rents that were indicated by Ms. Shabel's comparables. This is a you know, it's not brand new, but it was built in 1998, and this is a good quality gas station operation. And we are choosing, as you can see in the middle of page 13, we're choosing a net market rent at the upper end of that range for that very reason. So the potential net market rent we've applied is $70,085. For the car wash, as you can see on the chart on the bottom of page 13, and I found it difficult, as I think Ms. Shabel had indicated she had as well, to find car wash rents. They're few and far between. We do have three, and they range from $5.09 a foot up to $14.50, with an average and median of $9.53 and $9 respectively. So in this case, we're taking the approach that the department's model-driven rent of $10.41 certainly falls squarely within that range, and we're applying that same rent. So moving then very briefly to page 14, and this is where some of the distinctions come into play, because while the department's applied a vacancy allowance, there's going to be differences in vacancy, shortfall management or non-recoverable expenses, which is an ongoing debate, but also capitalization rate. We've applied a market vacancy allowance of 4%. That's consistent with the department's parameters for quote unquote retail properties. They've got a number of different subcategories, but retail being the one with the lowest of the rates at 4% within the retail categories, and that's what we've applied. We've applied a stabilized shortfall amount of 650. That's again following the retail parameters. For the reasons that I will very, very briefly, and I stress briefly, discuss, we're suggesting the non-recoverable expenses should remain at 5% as they have been prior to 2020. And the capitalization rate, and this is where, again, the distinction certainly comes to the fore. We're suggesting that a retail capitalization rate indicator should be examined. And as you can see, or should say, as you will see in our study shortly, for top quality properties, the rate is between 6.25 and 6.75%. And as we indicate on page 15, we're going to apply the rate of 6.75%. We do not disagree with the adjustments for pumps, tanks, canopies in this case. So it's an additional value that we've also applied in our valuation. So if one turns then with all that in mind to the next page, and I don't have the page number, it is page 16. You can see our valuation of the subjects, SKP being the gas station and VCW being the car wash. And as you can see there, we're applying a consistent vacancy allowance of 4%. The potential rents, as I had indicated earlier, full 5% for the non-recoverable, 2% for what's commonly known as other, but as a structural reserve, and a shortfall rate of $6.50. Capping that, then the total potential, or sorry, the total net operating income between the two income streams then is $70,496. It's shown on towards the bottom of the chart there, capped at 675. It comes in at a capitalized value of $1,044,381. Adding in then the adjustments for the pumps, tanks, canopies of $442,000. The total indicated value is $1,486,000. If I could then briefly turn to perhaps, and Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd propose to just do this once with the non-recoverable study and ask that any questions, comments be carried forward. And Mr. Chairman, if you could let me know when you've got the non-recoverable study in front of you.
You can go ahead, Mr. Reimer.
Okay. So on page 2, and I am going to skip over a whole lot of text because I know the board's familiar with it, as is Ms. Shabel. Bottom of page 2, fundamentally what we're suggesting is that this expense allowance was always intended to be an allowance for what's truly non-recoverable, even in tenants with triple net lease arrangements. And the former manual or previous manual published by the department actually says as much. It says even with net leases and competent management, there'll still be expenses incurred by the landlord that are non-recoverable. Examples, I should say, of these are processing payments and chasing bad debts. Then if we turn to page 4, towards the bottom of the page, for the second last paragraph, and this is from an appraisal text to look at how the appraisal theory treats these things, and it states the appraiser should also account for non-recoverable expenses. The most important non-recoverable cost items to be aware of are space marketing costs, which include both tenant inducements and leasing costs, and an allowance for structural or mechanical repairs. That allowance, as I've mentioned, being in the 2%, the structural repairs. The other cost associated with leasing space is leasing fees or commission, which we have included in our analysis. If we turn then briefly to page 7, this is from the Saskatchewan appraisal guide, and they actually list 4 different non-recoverable operating expenses that they consider. They're legal and audit fees, structural repairs, advertising and promotion, and leasing commissions. In the case of our analysis, the structural repairs we believe is covered under the 2% allowance, but legal and audit fees, advertising, promotion, and leasing commissions are in fact included in our analysis for the 5% expense, non-recoverable expense. Skipping over then to page 10, there are a total of 4 items that we have included in our analysis. The 3 I've just mentioned: leasing commissions, professional fees, and advertising marketing costs, as well as in a few very limited examples or in a few very limited properties, asset management fees. They're not at all common, but where they were reported, we included them in our evaluation or in our analysis. On page 11, we've got the chart with the results of the analysis, and the analysis was actually done, notwithstanding the heading there, the analysis was done over typically between 4 and 5 years, and in some cases 6. And the second column from the right is the key column. That's the results of the analysis, not including tenant improvements or tenant inducement allowances, and it shows an average of 6.64%, median of 5.98%, and therefore we believe the 5% certainly is appropriate. Moving then to pages 12 through 15. This is new for this cycle, so I just want to go through it very briefly. Fundamentally, the Altus Group capitalization rate studies, including the retail study that is presented in support of our applications tonight, includes the full 5% for the non-recoverable expense allowance, and therefore what we're asking is if the board chooses to reduce the non-recoverable expense allowance, which certainly is within your purview, but we are asking then that you consider our capitalization rate request to be increased by 25 basis points. The reason for that is, starting on page 13, I've provided 3 examples using the exact same set of assumptions as to purchase price, income, vacancy, all of the allowances being exactly the same, save and except for the non-recoverable expense allowance. On page 13, using the parameters that we list at the top of the page, the indicated cap rate is 7.38% with the application of the full 5% allowance. If you turn to page 14 then, the very same valuation parameters, save and except for a reduction in the non-recoverable expense allowance to 0, would indicate a cap rate of 7.79%. So that's an increase of 41 basis points. On page 15, the last example that's probably even more relevant to our discussion, when one reduces the non-recoverable expense item from 5% to 1%, which is what it appears that the department's done then. So the effect of that is to have a total non-recoverable allowance of 3% instead of our suggested 7%. So in that scenario, the indicated cap rate using the exact same assumptions for the entire remaining valuation and analysis is 7.71%. So the increase in the capitalization rate is actually 33 basis points. So if this board's inclined to reduce the non-recoverable expense allowance from 5%, say, to 1%, we've rounded it off at a 25 basis point request for an increase in our cap rate. It's actually a bit more than that, but you'll see in our materials that the 25 basis point is what we're requesting. So that's the non-recoverable expense study. Then finally, if we can move to the retail capitalization rate study, and again, Mr. Chairman, if you might let me know when you're there.
All right, Kerry.
Thank you. So if we could move to, and again, I'm going to go through this reasonably quickly because I know you've all heard it. If we could move briefly to page 5, please. So this is pre-pandemic commentary that we have concerning the retail sector. And it's interesting, middle of page 5, there was an article talking about RioCan, which is Canada's largest retail REIT at that time. They announced the sale of 100 properties, and some of the comments we believe were quite telling. On the first paragraph, indented paragraph, it states the recently announced sale of 100 properties by RioCan, Canada's largest retail real estate investment trust, suggests that retail as an asset class is losing steam, according to a confidential report from Colliers. If guidance for the future for retail Canada is to be taken from this change in direction for RioCan, it may be that retail as an asset class is a questionable focus. Now, that we were suggesting was certainly exacerbated by the pandemic for obvious reasons, and I'll talk about that in a minute. If we then move very briefly to page 7, so we talk again in the pre-pandemic environment, the shift in buying habits from brick and mortar operations to more online operations. And the second last paragraph on page 7 is of some interest. It talks about the trends, and it says e-retail sales, online sales, are increasing by about 8% per year, while overall retail sales are increasing by only 1.5%. And some retailers are changing their business models as part of this trend. So that online business certainly was a factor in the retail sector even prior to the pandemic. Now in the pandemic, starting at page 8, we talk about capitalization rate trends relating to the pandemic, and there certainly were a number of factors coming into play. The shift to online retailing being one of them. But what I'm going to focus on for the purposes of tonight's docket is really moving to, and I'm going to skip over several pages because of the nature of these assets. If we move to page 18, please. So Altus Group actually had the opportunity to conduct 2 surveys during the pandemic. One was in April of 2020, and the second was in November of 2020. The survey was conducted with the most sophisticated real estate investors and managers in Canada. Very, very sophisticated folks who have very much have their hands on the pulse of the various real estate sectors, including retail. And one of the questions that was asked was what their expectations were with respect to cap rates. And as you can see at the bottom of page 18, the retail top quality, and this is the higher quality assets, the capitalization rates, the majority of the respondents, well over 50%, indicated an expectation that cap rates were going to increase between 25 and 50%, and with a smaller percentage thinking that they would increase between 50 and 75 basis points, a few smaller still thinking it would be 75 to 100 basis points. And there were certainly a few that thought the cap rates might increase a little bit, but they were in the very much in the minority. So the overall should I say retail market certainly had been suffering as a result of the pandemic. In the case of these service station operations, translation's a little more difficult because these are different assets than, let's say, a retail strip mall or something like that. But don't forget that one of the trends, there was many different things going on during the pandemic, the mandated government shutdowns, and a very much a change in overall habits for a lot of people. And one of the fundamental changes that was happening was the work from home model, the hybrid work model. Businesses were finding out that actually the work from home model or a hybrid model was working much better than they thought. Had a direct impact on the office real estate market, but part of all of this, certainly between that and historically the increases in the gas prices, the overall demand for gasoline purchases and such was certainly going down in the pandemic. If you recall, Mr. Chairman, the price of gas for a while during the pandemic was actually lower than it had been in years. There was no expectation, I believe, that it was going to stay at that, but some of these fundamental changes in people's habits, which included their habits as far as commuting and such, may well have be considered an impact as well. So if you turn to page 24, then the conclusions of our retail capitalization rate studies, you can see there are a number of indicators. We've listed the conclusions of the capitalization rate based on our analysis. There's the second column from the right is what's called the Altus cap, and that's the capitalization rate that is fully inclusive of the 5% non-recovered. The equivalent rate, if you reduce the 5% down to 1%, That's indicated in the column on the right, the equivalent capitalization rate conclusions. So as you can see, there's quite a range there, but for the most part, they were in the low to mid sixes, upper sixes. There was a couple that were higher, there was a couple that were lower, but certainly between that and the information that we looked at, we believed, if you move then to page 22, the retail top quality assets, in our opinion, and these would typically be the assets that would be anchored specifically in the pandemic environment, anchored by grocery stores and or drugstores. Those were the asset classes that were the least impacted. It's not that they weren't impacted, but the least impacted, and would be between 6.25 and 6.75. The standard quality assets, which is going to be the asset class I'm focusing on tonight, is between 6.75 to 7.25. So in the context of all of those comments, as if we go back briefly to my page, the main brief on page 16, the capitalization rate I'm suggesting in this case is 6.75%. And I'm not going to belabor it, but I guess I would very much caution the board concerning the department's land sales and the uses. Two of the three parcels that were referenced have had apartment buildings developed on them, the one on Osborne and the one on Pembina that was zoned for that purpose to begin with. 634 Portage, as I mentioned, I'm very familiar with that. It was purchased by P3. I know one of the principals very well, and he's one of the most astute real estate professionals in the province. And that purchase was absolutely, the pre-planning would have gone into that purchase to develop it as a multifamily site. And I'd suggest, based on both the intended use of those parcels and on the geographical location, it just doesn't provide an appropriate frame of reference for a land value for the subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Assessor, questions of Mr. Reimer?
Yes, please. Could we remove noise behind Port of Revisions? Can we block them?
I'm not sure what that, Jazz, do you know where that noise is coming from?
Because right now we have 8 people watching this. One of them keep talking behind.
Actually, there's another meeting going on in the next room, so
Could you block them, please?
It's pretty tough, but maybe, Jazz, you could maybe just go next door and ask them to keep it down a little.
okay, I'll
You
email
can
them.
mute them. If you don't have to go, you have ability to mute one of these stream. Board of Revision stream.
I'll ask them to lower their volume. I'll email them. You can continue, please.
Shable, we'll try to do that. So Jazz, you let us know if you can do that.
Okay, so you want me to go on a break for a moment?
If whatever you have to do to mute the other people, that's fine. So
Yeah, I can't just go inside their room, it's going on already.
okay. So let's take 5 minutes then, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Judge Winder. Okay, we'll call the hearing back to order. I think, Mr. Reimer, you had done your presentation. Ms. Scheibel, whenever you have questions for Mr. Reimer?
Yes, please. Please open page 13 of agent brief. Everyone with me?
Yes.
You didn't provide a street number, correct? So I cannot verify your comparables.
I can provide it, Ms. Shable, if you would like me to do so. And I've said this to you in the past. I've always been happy to do it, but we have to be careful of confidentiality.
Okay, I would like to have email with all address for future use. Let's look on first comparable set for a gas bar. It's just a gas bar without a store, correct?
Well, they are gas bar operations with small retail operations, but they're all the sort of the gas kiosk types. That's correct.
So you have 5 comparables between 66 square feet to 400 square feet, correct?
That's correct.
The subject property has 2,140 square feet, correct?
It does indeed as a convenience store.
So your 5 comparable doesn't support evidence for a gas bar of over 2,000 square feet, correct?
No, that's incorrect. And here's why I say that, Ms. Shable. The conclusion is, I believe, fundamentally incorrect. The gas bar operations, that the revenue that's being generated from these operations fundamentally relates to the ability of the operations to sell gas. I almost call them concession, but the retail sales of the chips and the Pepsis and the cigarettes, that is all part of it. And the larger, like the 2,500 square feet, certainly they have more to offer. But the value and the money that's paid ultimately for these sites is based fundamentally on the gas, on the ability of the operator to sell gasoline. If we're going to value the property, Ms. Shable, as a convenience store, because don't forget what the department's done and we've done is we've adjusted for pumps, tanks, canopies. If we're going to value the property as a convenience store, the rent would be half of what I'm suggesting. It would be less than $20 a foot. I'm not doing that because that's not a fair reflection of the operations that are going on here. So that I don't disagree the size is different, but that was my point earlier about the annual rent. And that's a function of the ability of the gas bar to sustain its retail sales of oil and gasoline and those kind of products.
According to my evidence on page 7 of my brief, just strictly gasoline, gas barn, for example, my rent, my number 5, it's Doma Gasoline, 112,000 square feet, rent for $160 per square foot. So if it's very small, just gasoline, small kiosk, it's usually rent much higher than your evidence presented to us, correct?
No. Again, Ms. Shable, that was my point about the conversion to an annual rent. And let's do this together because this is important. If you take the 112 square feet and you multiply that by, and I'm assuming your numbers are right, I haven't verified them, but you multiply that by 160.71, that's an annual rent of $18,000. I'm using 70,000. So this is my very point, Ms. Shable, and I understand what you're saying, but this is why conceptually using the rent per square foot is virtually meaningless with these gas bar and gas station operations. If you choose to value it separately as a convenience store and then the car wash, and then you add the value of the pumps, tanks, canopies, you're going to get a much lower value. And as I say, I don't believe that's fair. And so I haven't done it.
But for example, your first comparables on Canonston, it's less like 5,000 square feet. It's a rent for $71,000 per month, per year.
Per year, exactly. And that's a comparable gas bar operation to the subject.
But our square footage over 2,000 square feet.
Indeed, Ms. Shable, indeed it is. But
so
this is my point.
They can sell more product, correct?
No,
so it will be much higher value.
They can sell more chips, Ms. Shable, but chips aren't adding value to the rent. It's the gasoline sales that are driving these rents. And ultimately, as I say, if the department wants to start valuing, segmenting out the convenience stores, we're happy to do that. But I'm saying categorically, it's going to result in a lower value because a 7-Eleven or a Max convenience store, call it 2,000 or 2,500 square feet, renting at $20 a foot, that's a rent instead of 70,000. That's a rent of 40,000, maybe 50,000.
Your comparable. Okay, sorry.
Yep. No, go ahead.
Your comparable car wash. All your comparables over 3,000 square feet, between 3,000 to 6,500 square feet. 3 comparables. Subject property has less than 1,000 square feet. By economic of scale, this rent should be higher, correct?
No, I've applied the same rate as the department's model rate. I do think it's fair, and but you're absolutely right. Those stations they're all bigger, but we've applied the same rent that the department's applied. The $5 is for the largest one at 6,500 feet, and the 3,360 square feet at 1,450 is at the high end. So I didn't anticipate it was going to be a debate, but they are for sure, Ms. Shable. They're all quite a bit bigger.
Regard capitalization rate, you apply a retail property capitalization rate, but in a subject property just stand alone. Usually retail, it's a shopping mall, regional shopping mall, street mall, neighborhood mall, but we have standalone gasoline station with sometimes car wash, sometimes store. So it's not support, it's not retail property in first place.
I completely disagree. I fundamentally think it is a retail property. It's the retail sales of oil, gas, chips, Pepsi, everything else. So I disagree with the statement.
With your comparables of to sell chips only 300 square feet, it's not big store in your comparables, correct? Space.
I'm sorry, which one are you referring to now?
Your gas station only less than 5,000 square feet. I came back to same. It's to sell. You say it's retail property. How much they can sell on this property less than 4,000 square feet? All retail property in our model. It's a strip mall, neighborhood mall. It's has different type of sale, retail space, not just gasoline. That's why it's in our case it's office related. No further questions.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Schleibel, anything further?
No further questions.
All right. Ms. Warhan, questions?
No, thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. I thank you. Mr. Diamond?
Yes, Mr. Reimer, I agree with you that it is retail. Look, so we're starting there, but I think it's a different type of retail than your cap rate study and is basically indicating, because what you've done to get your values, you've taken retail and you've taken a higher vacancy factor, and you've taken a higher shortfall because of that as well, using the city's model for those. But this is not really, it is retail, but gas stations don't have the same vacancy as retail stores, especially nowadays. I mean, people need to get gasoline and they can't buy it online. So
that's certainly true. That's fair.
You know, so I don't know if it's really fair, though, that you've used those higher values. I think it deserves a higher cap rate, but I don't know about the higher vacancy and higher shortfall.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Diamond's point is very well received. I guess the only question, or not the question, but the comment I'd have is, while the properties typically, the vacancy rate overall is lower, and Mr. Diamond, I agree with you, but don't forget there are certainly gas stations that cease operations, they get remediated, they get, you know, there are several instances of these operations ceasing at a site, and it involves a whole lot of work then, obviously typically with remediation, with having to clean up the site to make it usable for a different purpose. But Mr. Diamond, your point is well taken on the shortfall, and potentially, I'm not sure I'm there yet with the vacancy, but I get where you're coming from. I do.
Okay, well, that's my only question there, but I do agree with you that it is retail. So there we agree. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's my question. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Reimer, your building adjustment, 442,000. It's the very same figure that the city's got in regards to their income approach. So there's no question in that regard in regards to the building itself, eh?
No question as to pumps, tanks, and canopies. That adjustment is for those three items, pumps, tanks, and canopies. And you will see invariably tonight that we don't disagree with the adjustments made in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. Either party want summation at all?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, let's go on to number 3685 Portage Avenue. Madam Assessor, whenever you're ready.
File number 22-1687. Roll number 0756901700. Location is 3685 Portage Avenue. We are valuing the property as a stand of January 1st, 2023, based on economic condition of April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, in this assessor opinion, that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $854,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property vehicle service related, it's zoning C4 regional, location situated on land area 14,018 square feet, with gross area on leasable area only 145 square feet. On page number 2, I presented subject property lease. It's a Doma Gasoline. It's a leasable area 70,000 square feet. It showed, I guess, it's not leasable area, it's more land area. Lease started 93 for $5.71 per square foot. The subject property located northwest of the city. It's a rectangular shape of land. Zoning C4 commercial regional. We can see this district intend to accommodate the development of larger scale, distinctive and attractive regional center containing a mix of concentrated land uses. Those commercial uses are subject to frequent view by the public and visitors to the Winnipeg, and they should provide an attractive appearance when landscaping, sufficient parking, and controlled traffic movements. The center should provide commercial, office, institutional, residential uses and structure it at highest intents that surrounding area. The area may also contain concentration of medium to high density office development as well broad mix of complementary uses, which may include major civil and public facilities and park. The district may contain multifamily housing and development should facilitate and encourage residential travel between pedestrian travel between residential and not residential use. So the subject property, it's a C4 regional, and I will be look on a land value of this 14,000 square feet. I did present a parcel analysis for commercial properties on page number 5. I have 5 resale. To example, resale number 1 on 775 Henderson, and commercial C2 zoning. It's around 17,000 square feet, similar to the subject property. Sale was in 2016 and sale was in 2018. Difference between sale 44.62%. Its number of months between sale was 25 months. It shows in percentage change per month 1.78%. So if looking all 5 of them, it shows that average percentage change per month 2.12% or median 1.78% per month increase in land value. On page number 6, I presented percent analysis. It's a industrial land, and for resale, it's similar like subject property, 14,000 square feet on 302 Archibald Street. First sale was in 2017. Resale was in 2019. It's 21 months between sale and price difference 13%. It showed 1.43% per month. So all my six industrial parcel analysis showed that change per month, change in price 0.91% per month average, or media 0.87% per month. Land of value increase over the time. On page number 7, subject property land valuation, we have 14,080 square feet on neighborhood 210 Crestview. Subject property has land influence bus roads, bus stop, external corner, heavy travel, school. Our total assessment per lot size, $16.65. I did presented 4 comparables, similar with for previous property. Not similar, I have different a little bit. My first comparable of neighborhood 638 Richmond West, around 18,500 square feet, commercial, was sale in January 2021 at $94.82. My second comparables on 316 Desmarais Street, it's around 20,000 square feet, was sale in March 2021 for $16.24 per square foot. My comparables number 3 on 634 Portridge was sale in 2019, around 35,000 square feet at $75.91. In my last comparables, 380 Osborne, sell 17,400 square feet at 2018 and $79.99. So my mean or average $77.74 per square foot, or media $77.95 per square foot. And we did assess $16.65 per square foot. It's fair. Now we're coming back to market income. As a subject property has a kiosk pump, a store and kiosk pump, and square footage only 145 square feet. We did assess $210.19 per square foot. We did apply same vacancy loss 2%, same expenses 3%, shortfall $6 per square foot, capitalization rate 5%, and also additional building value for pump. You can see on bottom 84,000 square feet, $84,000. So it estimate value of $663,000. I did filter at my previous comparables. I showed 5 comparables with small square footage area. My first comparables 296 Madison, Doma Gasoline, rent $160.71. 1626 Ness, second comparables, 540 square feet and $92.59. My third comparable 5084 Region, it's gasoline, gas bar, 364 square feet and $159.61. Fourth comparables 1484 Inster, rent for 500 square feet at $75.78. And 1180 Nairn, 5 comparables, it's Sencor Energy, 840 square feet at $59.52. So our median $109.68 and median $92.59. And subject property kiosk only 145 square feet. That's why we model generate to $210.19. We have 84 total adjustment. You can see on page number 9, it's a pump, detached structure details of $101,000 dollar. We did the model generate 84,000 only. On following page, I presented on page 12, started income expense mailer provided to us. And my rent comparables on page 17, we can see 296 Madison Street, Doma Gasoline, 112 square feet and $160.71. Small Safeway gas bar on 1626 Ness, $92.59. On page 19, 1584 region, Superstore gas bar, it's only 364 square feet, $160 per square foot. On page 20, 1484 Inster, convenience store and gas bar, 500 square feet at $76 per square foot. On page 21, we have sink of energy of 1180 Nairn. It's only 840 square feet. It's $16 per square foot. And on page 22, I have my land sale comparables. First on 3092999 roll, around 18,500 square feet, was sale for $94.82. My comparables on 316 Desmaro Street, it's around 20,000 square feet, sale for $16.24. My comparables on page 23 on 634 Portridge, around 35,000 square feet for $75.91. My comparables on 380 Osborne, around 17,400 square feet at $18 per square foot. So we can see that by land sale, we assess only $16.65. By income approach, we estimate 145 square feet of leasable area plus pump adjustment. Based on evidence in this report, it is assessor opinion that the subject property assessor opinion the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021, $854,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I notice you're mute, but may I ask questions?
There's some background noise here, so Ms. Schabel, for the sake of time, if you don't mind, and it's just a suggestion, and Mr. Reimer might agree with this also, you are basically concluding value for land only. So I know you're trying to justify the income approach to complement your concluded value for land. But like I say, if we're not going to use an income approach and we're just using a land value, I would appreciate, and maybe Mr. Reimer would be the same, that you not probably do anything in regards to the income. It's just a suggestion. Because here we are, we've covered, this is the second property and we're going close to 2 hours. So what do you think?
Mr. Chairman, if I might interject, I do have just a couple of questions on the income approach, actually, but I mean, they'll be brief. But
that is fine, but I'm just thinking of the other ones that are coming about. I mean, I have no problem in listening to it. Ms. Schlabel?
If you look on page number 2, subject property lease, Doma Gazalin showed leasable area 7,000 square feet. It showed not just lease area, it showed land area for 7,000 square feet and $5.71. Our record showed land area 14,000 square feet and leasable area only 145 square feet. So I use two approaches, try to defend our model generated income approach.
Okay, so do you want to continue with that?
Yes,
then?
please.
Okay, that's no problem. Mr. Reimer, questions of the assessor?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if Ms. Shable and the panel members might turn to page 7, please. And Ms. Shable, these are your land sales. So recall, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe comparables number 3 and 4 are the same ones that were also included in the first hearing, correct?
Correct. I have number 1 and 2 new property, commercial, very close to the subject property, 18,000 square feet and 20,000 square feet. Subject property, 14,000 square feet. This zoning C2 commercial, but in our case, it's C4 commercial regional. It's more expensive land. We assess at $16.65 per square foot. In my comparable showed around $78 per square foot. It's fair.
Ms. Shable, the question was whether comparables 3 and 4 were the same. So the reason I asked that question, Mr. Chairman, could I please have the previous comments and questions and concerns, the commentary all brought forward to this hearing so I don't need to go through it again? That's
fine, Mr. Reimer.
Thank you. And with respect to, now the question I have for the remaining 2 comparables, Ms. Shable, are either of these gas bar operations?
No.
The land, like there was no previous or former gas bar on these sites. And in the case of 316 Desmirons, I'm not familiar with the first sale, but in the case of 316 Desmirons, were you aware that the department's coding this as VRES 2, so vacant residential 2 land?
In moment of sale in March 2021, it was commercial C2.
Okay, so the changes happened since that time then?
Yes, and land influence similar to the subject property, bus roads, heavy traffic, external corner. It's very important land influence data.
Sure. Ms. Shable, what do you think the value of the land? And I'm going to ask these questions and comments to be carried forward as well, Mr. Chairman. When you're presenting land sale comparables for a gas bar operation, and this is a gas bar operation as the previous and several of the ones coming up are, do you have any experience with land transactions involved with former gas bar operations as it relates to remediation, as it relates to the costs involved with all of that?
I don't have any specific example, but I know that this piece of land very valuable. If they decide to put multi-family building or something construction, it's good. It's very expensive piece of land.
And it's very expensive to remediate, I'd suggest to you. Then moving to page, and just very briefly, to page 9, please. So I gather the income approach then according to the, and this is the valuation on page 9, this is model generated, correct? I think you alluded to that. Okay. And so the model is generating an income valuation of 663,000 for the subject?
Yes, plus, yes. But and in our case, model, if model cannot defend land value, it's going to land value. That's why I suggest land value.
Yep.
Because
certainly
our income cannot be less as land value. It's land value higher.
Indeed, but I have some concerns without the adjustments being made, both for the reasons I've talked about, but also because of the nature of these operations and their impact on the land. So, but I'm not going to, I won't take the time because I don't, you mentioned you didn't have a lot of experience with transactions involved with gas bar operations. So the question.
If you open page 8, it shows that just by income estimation, 663,000 only. But our assessed value, 854,000, it's land value. So income report that doesn't support land value. It's
That's
still
your
at
position.
2010.
That's your
Yes.
position. I understand it.
You can, how you can defend 4,000 square feet at 145 leasable area office, gas bar.
So on page 9, going back to page 9, the original question I'd posed to you was that this was a model-driven income valuation, which would indicate, notwithstanding your position concerning land value, would indicate a value of 663. Now the adjustments of 84,000. And I just want to be clear on this. I think at the bottom of page 9, you've listed a number of detached structures, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm quite certain that the adjustments that are made in the cases of gas bars is for pumps, tanks, and canopies. So what the difference between the 101,000 at the bottom of page 9 and the $84,000 adjustment, I believe, relates to item number 2, which is the floodlight, and the second last item, which is the asphalt paving. Am I accurate in that?
No, detached structure by cost approach. This subject property tax structure details. It's from our cost approach because we have 3 approaches when we evaluate subject property.
Sure.
It showed 101,000 detached structure, and model apply 84,000 square feet. $84,000.
Yeah, I believe.
For pump, because we estimate only 145 square feet of gas bar, but we need to estimate kiosk, but we need to estimate gas.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I guess I'm suggesting to you, Ms. Schabel, and you need not agree, but I'm pretty sure that the difference between the 101,000 and the detached structures at the bottom of the page and the adjustment that is made, the adjustment that's made, that difference relates to the floodlight and the paving. But that's fine. If you're not sure about that, that's fine. Mr. Chairman, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warhan?
Just one quick question on the cap rate. I'm trying to figure out how you came about the 5%. The previous address at 3755 Portage, you've got we'll just use one of the cap rates at 5.76. Could you just clarify your 5% for me?
5%, it's still inside our range. Because it's only small construction, 145 square feet. It's a cap rate. It's usually what risk involved in this construction, or how it's explained. It's model generated 5%. It's outside our 16th percentile, because our between 5.6 to 6.9, 60% of property. This specific property, because it's very low square footage, came to 5%.
Okay, thank you.
I thank you, Mr. Diamond.
Yeah, so Ms. Scheibel, I know that Mr. Reimer's already brought this to your attention, but your comparisons, they weren't gas stations, they were just other uses, correct?
If you see on assessed value 854,000,
no, I'm asking you your comparison property.
By land
Excuse
cost.
me, Ms. Scheibel. You're not getting. I'm just going to ask you answer the question. Your comparison properties for square foot sale prices were not gas stations, correct?
On page number 8.
Page number 8. Any of your ones. Page number 8. Page number 7. You don't have any gas stations as comparables, do you?
For you're talking about capitalization.
I'm talking about your cost per square foot approach. You haven't used comparisons that were gas stations, correct?
I presented 5 gas stations.
Now I'm talking about your valuation on a square foot basis when they're sold for other uses.
I showed that Martin.com doesn't support a land value. That's why I presented land value comparison. I more rely on land value.
Okay, Ms. Scheibel, you're using land value, but you're aware of the fact that a gas station in almost every instance has had contamination from leakage of hydrocarbons into the soil and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to remediate. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And that would impact the valuation of these properties if they were sold for other uses.
And if you see on my page number 7, my media showed $78 per square foot, and but we assess only $16.65 per square foot. It's account for this.
Well, I don't know if it does. I don't think you've established that. Okay, the next question I have is, let's go to your page number, your valuation page. And you show on it that you have a net operating income of $28,955 if we use your figures, which you capped at 5%, which I don't know if I agree with, but that's another matter. And you get an estimated market value, though, of $663, correct?
Correct. It's by market income.
No,
But model didn't account
I know, that's
for
fine.
it. It
Excuse
showed
me. Let me ask the
land
question.
value.
Ms. Shivo, just answer the questions. We're running out of time here. You don't have to go on renditions. We have heard your evidence already. Okay? Once we hear it once, we don't have to hear it again. Okay, so you have $663,000. And then you indicate detached, then you add an $84,000 amount on for additional land. And that brings you up to 663. And then you have other structures, 101. So if you add 101 to 663, you get a value of 764. And that, where is the other $90,000 of your assessed value?
I repeat myself. Income approach doesn't support market value of subject property. Model switch to land value only.
Okay, so if
Mr. Diamond, Mr. Diamond, I'll be able to help you with that in a few minutes. I'll clarify that.
Okay, that'll be appreciated. But okay, so if we were to take the income approach, though, we'd have a assessment, I think, of if we use your figures even of 764,000 and not 854. But maybe Mr. Ryder can clarify that. So that's my question then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diamond. Mr. Rubble, just one question. The 101,000, isn't that the reproduction cost new for the canopies, etc.? Now, I would say that the $84,000 is the result of taking off depreciation.
Correct. If you look on page number 9, 1, 2, 3, 4 column from the right, it shows depreciation. Fuel pump electrical, 36% depreciation. Float lights, 71% depreciation. Tank, 36. Paving, 18% depreciation. Depreciation in here, it's just roughly estimation $101,000 for detached structure, but for this income, total adjustment 84. It's close enough.
Yeah. So these particular evaluations is probably from the Marshall Swift evaluation manual, isn't it?
Correct.
True?
It's our cost approach. Yes. This specific table just to support 84,000 what it came across, and this page specific from cost approach.
All right. I thank you. Mr. Reimer, we're ready for your presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be brief, and I'm going to preface my comments with I have expressed the same concerns with respect to the land adjustments Mr. Diamond had referenced earlier, hence my earlier questions. I have been involved with some transactions involving contaminated sites, and the remediation costs are absolutely astronomical. And when you're talking about this particular gas kiosk operation, for instance, I believe the structures were constructed some time ago, 1994, so they're full on, they're coming up to 30 years old without an adjustment, notwithstanding the previous concerns I had about the multifamily distinction versus commercial. Without significant adjustments for these contamination issues, I'm just not accepting that approach. So that's going to carry forward to these gas bar operations. I'm not going to raise that again. I want to get to, though, Mr. Diamond's comments, and Mr. Chairman, yours as well, because I'm quite certain I have the clarification we're looking for here. So if we could, for the moment, keep Ms. Schabel's brief open at initially page 8, please. So this is the income approach that the department's applied using the model-driven parameters. As you can see, the capitalized value based on the model-driven rental rate and such is 579,100. Then what's added to that, and this is common to all gas bar and gas station operations, what's added to that is the depreciated value of 3 items: pumps, tanks, and canopies. Those 3 items only. That value shown on page 8 is $84,000, and that is in fact the depreciated cost of the pumps, tanks, canopies. So Mr. Chairman, and to Mr. Diamond, I believe you're adding that adjustment twice then, and I'm certainly, I don't believe that would be the correct methodology here. If we turn, though, then to page 9, and this was the point of my question earlier. So on page 9, it's the same. You see the top half of the page. It's the same, very same valuation. That income-based value prior to the adjustments for pumps, tanks, canopies is 579,100. Then you've got the total adjustment for, as I say, the 3 items: pumps, tanks, and canopies of 84,000. How that relates then, the chart on the bottom of page 9, the chart on the bottom of page 9 is actually providing further details of the adjustment of 84,000, but it's adding 2 items. And this was the reason for my question earlier. The adjustment, as I mentioned, is only pumps, tanks, canopies, and pumps, tanks, canopies in the chart at the bottom of page 9 relate to item, and I'll just go row by row: row 1, row 3, row 4, and the last row. That's the pumps, tanks, and canopy bit for the purposes of the adjustment. The reason for the difference, and I'm quite convinced of this, the reason for the difference between the $84,000 adjustment and the total number of 101,000, it's relating almost entirely to the same thing with only 2 exceptions. There's a cost-based adjustment for asphalt, which is the second last row of $16,000. And then there's a cost-based adjustment, or not adjustment, but inclusion here of $1,000 for a floodlight. So if you take the 101,000 and you subtract those 2 items, which total 17,000, that's how you get back to the $84,000 adjustment that's been made. So I'm going to cut to the heart of this. I'm using exclusively an income approach. I'm characterizing the subject as a retail. By the way, this property, if the board's familiar with it, it's in my materials, but I just speak to it verbally. This is at the front end of Unicity Mall. So Unicity Mall is all the property to the north and east of the subject, and this is the little Domo station on the corner of that entire mall site. If we turn briefly to page 13, the potential rent that we're applying in this case, there was a December 2018 renewal for this Domo location at $40,000 per annum. And we believe certainly that's the best evidence of the market rent for this location, and it's supported by the 3 comparables shown on the chart in the middle, comparable number 1 actually being the subject, but then you've got the other 2 Domo gas bars on Leela and Pembina at lower rates. So we do believe the $40,000 is entirely appropriate in this case. If we move briefly to page 15, and there's actually a very, very high degree of consistency between our income approach and the department's income approach here. As you can see, we're applying the higher market rent. The department, as you might recall, is applying roughly 30,500. We're applying 40,000, but we are applying the higher vacancy allowance and the higher shortfall rate, full non-recoverable, and the cap rate of 675. So based on the parameters as shown on that page, we come in at a capitalized value before the adjustments for pumps, tanks, canopies of 522,588. That is actually slightly lower, or it's somewhat lower than the department's capitalized value because of the difference in cap rate. We applied adjustments. The records that I had were not particularly great, but we applied adjustments of 100,000 based on our review of historical records and the adjustments that have been made in the past. And it turns out it's very consistent. It's slightly higher than, but very consistent with the department's adjustments of 84,000. So our total request is 623,000. So we are still $40,000 lower than the department's income-based value. Further to Mr. Diamond's earlier questions, as I mentioned, his questions relating to vacancy rate. and shortfall rate are well received. And perhaps if an adjustment was made there, I'm guessing the two values would be remarkably similar. So notwithstanding that, we're requesting 623,000 and subject to Ms. Shable's and the board's questions. That's my presentation. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Schlegel?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Warren?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Diamond?
None, thank you. I think Mr. Reimer was clear.
Okay, either party want summation?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to 3460 Portage Avenue. Ms. Shable, whenever you're ready.
File number 22-2412, roll number 0743965000. We are valuing the property as a stand of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, in this assessor opinion, that the market value of subject property of April 1st, 2021 is $1,417,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is situated on land area of 28,712 square feet, leasable area of car wash 10,396 square feet. On page number 2, started subject property picture. The subject property located northwest of the city. More photo on page 3 and 4. It's rectangle shape of land. We can see we have on page number 4, we have laundromat, some car wash, some kiosk. On page number 5, land value of I will look at land valuation. The subject property located in Crestwood, C2 commercial community zoning, lot size around 28,712 square feet. We assess total assessment per lot size $49.35 per square foot. I presented 4 comparables, similar what previous case. They showed media $77.95 per square foot. On page number 6, C2 commercial community. This district intended to accommodate more intense commercial size. They do not have a local neighborhood orientation. The district intend to include attractive commercial, institutional, recreation, and service facilities needed to support surrounding neighborhood and broader community. All my comparable C2 zoning. On page 7 and 8, same parcel analysis. They showed that commercial property media 1.78% per month increase in price, and industrial property increase 0.87% per month. On page number 9, I presented rent comparables. Then it's on 1091 Henderson. We have 7-Eleven for $20 per square foot. On my comparables number 21017 Henderson and Red River Co-ops, it's 1,680 square feet for $51.22. My third comparables on Pembina, it's specific car wash, rent for 6,480 square feet at $9 in 2015. My comparables number 4 on 406 Edison at 7-Eleven for 3,200 square feet at $23.44. My comparables number 6 on Sterling Lions 619. It's a Shell store car wash, 3,600 square feet at $31.72. My car wash on comparable number 7 on McPhillips, 1361 McPhillips rent for 3,360 square feet at $14.51. My comparables number 8 on Osborne 705. It's Osborne Husky gas station. Rent for 1,336 square feet at $32.93. Comparable number 9 on 1567 Arlington, Husky Energy for 1,296 square feet at $26.62. My comparables number 10 on 1180 Henderson, Suncor Energy, 840 square feet, rent at $59.52. We did apply, it showed mean of $29.90 and median $28.31. On page number 9, income approach. If we take a 10,396 square feet, it just applied $11.31. But you see my comparable number 7, they use $14.51 per square foot. We came across potential rent 118,000. We apply same vacancy 2%, expenses 3%, shortfall 6%, $6 per square foot, the capitalization rate 7.8%. We came across estimate value of 1,417,000. On page number 10, what right now in model, it's $8.41 per square foot and doesn't support land value. On page 15, started income expense mailer provided for us. It's a full owner occupied space. My rent comparable started on page 18. You can see Henderson 7-Eleven for $20. On page 19, Co-op, Red River Co-op, $51.22. Car wash on Pembina for $9, but rent started in 2015. It should be 6 years upward adjustment for time. On page 21, Edison Avenue, 7-Eleven for $23.44. 7-Eleven on Q18 for $13 per square foot. On page 23, Safeway Gas Bar for $92. On page 24, Sterling Lions $31.72. On page 25, car wash on McPhillips $14.51. On page 26, Osborne car wash gas, Osborne Husky gas station for $13.03 per square foot. On Arlington $26.62, Husky Energy. On page 28, Suncor Energy on 1180 Nairn for $59 per square foot. And on page 29, start my land comparables. First for land was sale for $95 per square foot. Second comparables on Pembina, $128.44. My comparables on page number 30 on Portridge, $75.91 per square foot. And my comparables on Osborne for $79.99. If you use a land approach, we apply only $49.35 per square foot for land area of 28,712 square feet. Or if you look on income approach on page number 9, 10,396 square feet of car wash, we apply $11.31. It gives us 1,417,000 estimate value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
I thank you. Mr. Reimer.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Szabo, and it's a simple question, really, on starting on page 5 with your land comparables, and the question simply is this, Ms. Szabo: are these the same properties that were on the first hearing, as I recall, correct?
Correct.
It's the same for.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, can I ask that all of the comments, questions, concerns relating to those properties be carried forward to this hearing to save some time?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Ms. Shable, if we could turn briefly then to your page 9. And at the top of page 9, you've got a number of comparables there, but to be clear, the subject property is a car wash only, correct?
Correct.
And the two comparables only are your indices 3 and 7 that are car washes, correct?
Yes, but if you open page 4, street view, it's not just car wash. We have kiosk, laundromat.
Oh, sure. It's got a laundromat in it, but it's not a gas station or a gas kiosk of any kind.
No gas kiosk, correct.
Okay.
And if you look my comparables, strictly car wash comparable number 3, $9, but it was signed in 2015. It needs 6 years upward adjustment for time. And my strictly car wash on comparable number 7 on McPhillips, $14.51. In my case, it's $11.31 per square foot. It's fair.
So with respect to comparable number 7, though, we can agree that the subject is basically a little more than 3 times the size of the subject, correct? The comparable number 7 is 3,360 feet and ours is 10,300.
That's why it's less if my comparables for 3.3 thousand square feet, $14 per square foot. For 10,000, we apply $11.31 per square foot by economical scale, correct?
Indeed, but the comparable, and I take your point, Ms. Shable, don't get me wrong, but the index number 3, which granted is 2 years prior, but it's also much closer to the size of the subject and it's at $9 a square foot. But even that comparable, you would have to adjust for size as well, because that comparable is roughly 30%, actually closer to 40% smaller than the subject, correct?
Before we adjust for time, for size, we have to adjust for time. For 6 years up. It's a big adjustment. So $11.51.
There's Ms. Shable, I object to that statement. There's no basis for a big adjustment in the rents. There's no evidence for that. So I don't agree with that statement unless you can point me to evidence that about the rents and the adjustments. I don't believe that's the case. If we turn to page 10, and you've been clear, the income approach on your page 9 is based on your revised value using the higher rent. I understand all that, but to be clear, page 10 is the model-driven income approach that was originally done. Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Ms. Warhan?
None, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Diamond?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Shable, you've done concluded value for land only. You've also included 2 approaches, but with identical cap rates, income approaches I'm talking about, and we're using 10,396 square feet. And in one evaluation, which equates to the land value, you're using $11.31. And in your other evaluation, you're $3 less.
My income approach on page number,
which equates to a difference of approximately $400,000.
Right now, model-driven page number 10 showed 1,050,000, but it's not covered land value. That's why subject property assessed value 1,417,000. I did provide land valuation to support this value, $49.35. And on page number 9, I provided adjusted income approach to support same value of subject property.
All right, I thank you. Mr. Reimer, your presentation.
Mr. Chairman and Ms. Shable, if we could skip forward right to page 13 initially of our submission. On page 13, and again, we've applied the income approach. On page 13, there's three comparables we were able to find. This, pardon me, it's the same three as has been presented earlier, ranging between $5 and $5.09 and $14.50 a foot. The $14.50 is actually the same comparable that Ms. Shable has in her evidence. Recall that my question was about the size there. I have a lot of concerns. That was only 3,360 feet. The comparable closest both in size and in time to the reference date is comparable number one on Mandalay at 6,500 feet, January 2019, lease at $5.09. I'm applying $9 as you see roughly just over halfway down the page on page 13. Given those lease comparables and the size of the subject at 10,381, I'm applying $9. If you then move to page 15, and there's our valuation. It's using the $9 rate, 4% vacancy allowance, 650 shortfall, as capping it at 7.5%. We come in at a suggested value this evening of $1,076,000. I do note for reference that it's slightly higher even than the model-driven rate provided by the department. But notwithstanding that, I'm staying with my value of $1,076,000. Thank you.
You're mute, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Reimer. Ms. Shable, questions of Mr. Reimer?
On page 13 of agent brief, you have leasable area between 3,000 to 6,500 square feet only. It
Yes.
doesn't support your evidence for 10,000 square feet of subject property, correct?
No, that's not correct at all. I'd suggest, if anything, it would support a rate lower than $9 based on the 6,500 square foot lease in 2019.
And you haven't provided a street address,
Again, Ms.
street
Shable,
numbers
please.
to, I cannot verify, correct?
No, well, I'm going to take issue with that, Ms. Shable. I'm going to ask this, since you've raised it twice now.
Yes, it's important for me.
I understand. Please let me finish. If you notice on the front of your brief on page 1, the respondent, it used to, as I recall, have the individual assessors' names. The briefs I've been seeing for a while now do not. So I will be happy, and I'm going to say this categorically, I've said this before, I will be happy to provide the addresses because I can provide it to you in confidence so that you can verify the information, but without without knowing who the name is and with the timelines being what they are, if you have any questions that way, please email me. I am happy to provide it to you. To raise it now at the hearing with respect, when you know it's me that's prepared this brief, to raise it as a question now, it's too late, Ms. Shable. So I will be happy to be clear. I will be more than happy to provide that to you upon request, anytime.
Okay, I would appreciate it, but question stays same. I could not verify right now, period.
I've provided my response. If you doubt the veracity of it, please do email me in the future.
Thank you. No further questions.
Well, thank you. Mr. Warheim?
None, thank you.
Well, thank you. Mr. Diamond?
Yeah, Mr. Reimer, I notice in most instances where you have a larger area, you have a large area discount on the rent over a small area. And I think you are hanging your hat on that, correct?
I certainly think economies of scale with this car wash operation. As I mentioned earlier, with the kiosks, it becomes, the rate per square foot becomes meaningless when you're talking about 100 to 300 or 500 square foot kiosks. But this is not such an animal. This is a car wash with a laundromat, mind you. But it's, I am, so to answer your question, Mr. Diamond, yes, indeed, in this case, because it's of the nature of the asset, I am indeed applying an economies of scale. But if you recall on my page 13, the rent I've applied is $9, which is certainly much higher than the $5 rent for the largest of the three.
I understand, but I look at the rent for the McPhillips car wash, and there's only a few bays there. And obviously, you'd agree that the bigger the unit, the more bays you can have in it, and the more car washes you can then do. and the more income it will produce. Is that not correct?
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And so basically, I don't know if economy of scales really take into account a situation like this. If you have more bays and produce more business, that would justify a higher valuation than a lower valuation because you're not limited.
I'm not sure the data that I've got, and granted it's limited, Mr. Chairman, but Mr. Diamond, I hadn't thought about it in those terms, and your points are all well received.
Okay, thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Summation, either party?
No, thank you.
All right, let's take about a 10-minute break. Okay, so we'll reconvene at 7:27.
Thank you.
Okay, see you then.
Thanks, Jazz. Okay, we'll call the hearing back to order. The next property we're going to deal with 3,331 Portage Avenue. Madam Assessor, whenever you're ready, you can take us through this property.
File number 22-1243, roll number 07560163500. We are valuing the property as it stands of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition April 1st, 2021. This appeal with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on evidence in this report, in this assessor opinion, that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $2,511,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property located of land area 32,327 square feet with leasable area of 9,816 square feet. On page number 2, subject property has leases, existing leases. First lease in units number 1 for 2,352 square feet, size 2019 at $13.21 per square foot. On page number 2, on units number 2, for 2,224 square feet, lease for $16.30. Units number 3, Westwood Autotech, area 2,308 square feet, lease for $19.84. Units number 4 for 2,960 square feet, lease at $20.99. Total area 9,860 square feet at average $17.76. The subject property photos following on page 2 in following. It's located northwest of the city. More photo on following pages 3 and 4. It's irregular shape of land. We have 2 buildings, separate buildings. On page number 5, market and comp for vehicle surface garage. We have assessed 9,860 square feet at $19.82 per square foot. We did apply same vacancy loss 2%, expenses 3%, shortfall 6%, and overall capitalization rate 6.35%. On page number 5, I presented 5 rent comparables. They showed media of $20.50. Let's look on my comparables. We started on page 12. Rent comparables of 1064 McPhillips Street. It's on tire, good years. We have comparables on 1064 McPhillips. Oh, sorry, it's same. On page 14, 107 Vermillion Road. It's we have foundation tire. On page 15, we have 20 Lakewood Boulevard. We have Boyd. On page 16, 226 St. Anne Road, regular shape of land. We have Midas. So let's go back to my summary sheet on page number 5. So my comparables number 1, 1064 McWillops. It's a rent for 4,298 square feet and $15.50. And my comparables number 2, 2335 Pembina Highway. It's a lease for 3,531 square feet at $20.50. My comparables number 3 of 107 Vermellon Road for 5,452 square feet at $20.50. My comparables number 4 of 20 Lakewood for 8,087 square feet at $20. My comparables on 226 and Ann Road for 2,022 to 22 square feet at $23.25. It's showed a media of $20.50. We did apply $19.82. So it's fair and supported by evidence. So based on evidence, it is reported as assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021, $2,511,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
I thank you. Mr. Reimer?
Just a couple, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Shable, thank you for your presentation. Can we go briefly to your page 2, please? So, and you've presented the information very clearly. We can agree that there were 2 leases in the subject that were negotiated reasonably near the reference date. One was the very last one in September of 20 at $20.99, and the second was negotiated in March of 2019 at $13.21 a foot, correct?
Correct.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Warhan?
None, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Diamond?
No questions.
Okay, Ms. Shable, we have for the subject property, we're looking at actual leases, and according to, I guess, market, the difference being $20,000. So how do you evaluate this property if you have actual leases compared to market?
If you look actual leases on units number $420.99, if you look on my comparables on page 5, we have leases $23.25, $20, $20.50. So our assessment less than $20 per square foot, it's fair.
And this is all model driven?
Correct.
Okay. I note that I looked ahead of time here and your cap rates are, you're in agreement. So it's basically just the gross and NOI. So Mr. Reimer, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Could we turn to page 13, please? So on page 13 of our submission, this is the very same information that Ms. Shable has on her page 2. It's identical in every respect. The September 2020 lease that was negotiated for the unit was very much higher, but also please note, as I note on the chart there, it's a 1-year term. And typically landlords in very short-term lease arrangements like that, they're going to be looking for a significantly higher rate, and that's what they achieved. And it indicates a very weak covenant, and certainly it explains to, in my opinion, to a very large extent, that rate that seems out of line with the others. Conversely, you've got the one next in line from a timeline point of view in March of 2019. So roughly 2 years prior to the reference date at only 1321. That was at the low end. I'd suggest, as I indicate in my materials, I'd suggest that an appropriate valuation, when you look at the entire rent roll and you look at those circumstances, the $17.76 rent, pardon me, $17.76 rent blended rate that we're suggesting based on the leases in place, but factoring in both the high and the low, but then accounting for or explaining that 2099 lease rate for the short term, the 1776 stands to reason in this case. It's supported, in my opinion, by the VSG comps in the chart at the bottom of page 13. Some of these are larger. Fort Street's also older, so that's again, that's significantly older in this subject. The comps 10, 11, and 12 are significantly larger, but certainly the $17 rate, 1776, I should say, is above any of the rates listed there, and we do believe it's fair and appropriate. So skipping ahead to page 15, as you can see in our valuation, we're applying that potential market net rent of 175,088. We've applied a 4% vacancy allowance rather than 2 in our valuation based on retail parameters. The 7.35%, the standard, what the conclusion in our study had suggested is that for standard quality retail properties, the range is between 675 and 725. So 735, I've applied that rate. If the board were inclined to look at a rate, assuming the inclusion of the 5% non-recoverable, but was inclined quite bluntly to look at a rate in the 7% or 7.25% range, that would stand to reason from my perspective. Notwithstanding that, I've applied the 735, and I'm asking for a value this evening of $2,095,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir. Madam Assessor, questions?
Yes, please. Open page 13 of agent brief. You did apply market rent reported to us 175,000, correct?
That's the rent I'm applying, absolutely right.
You can see that comparable rent for RCR Glass was leased in 2019, has two years upward adjustment for time, correct?
No, I don't agree with a 2-year upward adjustment for time. I'm not convinced that there should be a time adjustment on the rents, so no, I don't agree with that.
Your Mr. Transmission rent started in 2016 and need 5 years upward adjustment as well, correct?
No.
And your comparable, your existing lease Westwood Auto for 2017, it need 4 years upward adjustment for time.
I'd actually
Correct?
suggest that might be the reverse, because the 2017 lease, Ms. Shable, is at 1984 versus the 2019 lease at 1321. So no, I would not agree with the time adjustment.
And close to reference date only lease on Earth Auto at $20.99, correct?
Indeed, for the 1-year term. Absolutely right.
The subject property has 0 vacancy, correct?
That is correct.
You use existing market rent and you still want 4% vacancy, correct?
That is a retail market vacancy.
Time adjustment.
Absolutely right. I believe the 4% is appropriate. Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Warhan?
None, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Diamond?
Okay, so with your workup, Mr. Reimer, you're using an NOI of 153,952.
Yes.
And if you look at on the the assessor's brief, she shows the disclosures for the questionnaire that was sent out.
Yes.
And I see that it shows an NOI, an actual NOI of 174,308. So it's lower than the 184 that 587 the department's using, but it's quite a bit higher than what you've worked out. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And of course, that's based on 100% occupancy, which I'd suggest, Mr. Diamond, Mr. Chairman, there's no investor is going to assume 100% occupancy in perpetuity. But the other component here would relate to the non-recoverable expenses. And I'm guessing that the non-recoverable expenses would be lower than the stabilized allowance I've used. So for those 2 reasons, I would expect the actual NOI to be higher, and it is, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Weimer. That's my questions.
I thank you. Mr. Reimer, did I hear you mention something about changing the cap rate or not?
In my opinion, the
Yeah.
7.35% it put it this way, it would make sense to me based on the NOI that I've calculated. If the board were inclined to apply a 7% rate or thereabouts, that would make sense to me as well. And I'll leave it at that.
So by doing that, that brings up your value?
It
Yeah.
would, if one implied the 7% by example, that would be an indicated value of $2,199,000.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reimer. Summation, either party?
No,
Well,
thank you.
Okay. Let's press on. Let's just go a little further down the street or vice versa. 3316 Portage Avenue. The floor is yours, Ms. Shable.
File number 22-3443, roll number 0755340000. We are valuing the property as a stand of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, it is assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $2,267,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is situated of land area of 35,475 square feet and leasable area of 7,300 square feet. On page number 2, Syncor Energy Income showed incorporation showed rent size March 2021 until 2026 and 115,000. The subject property located northwest of the city. On page number 3, more view air photo and view street. It's a subject property zoning C4 commercial regional. It's much higher value compared to C2 commercial. This district intends to accommodate the developments of larger scale, distinctive, attractive regional center contain a mix of concentrate land uses in C4. We read already. Land value, if looking by land value of subject property, it will be assessed at $63.90. My 4 comparables similar for previous cases showed $78 per square foot. We can see my parcel analysis for commercial land. The land change per month 1.78% higher. Let's go to income approach. First approach for service garage on page number 7. We did use 2,930 square feet at $15.35. We did apply same vacancy loss 2%, 3% expenses, shortfall 6%, the capitalization rate 6.9%, give us estimate value of just for service garage $619,000. On same page, we can see my same 5 comparables from previous. Brief, it's 2020 reported rental rate for service garage showed mid of $20.50, and we apply $15.45. It's reasonable. On page number 8, we see 14 comparables for store, kiosk, pump, car washer, and comparables. With altogether media showed $32.32 in mean $56.28. On page number 9, income from vehicle car wash, leasable area, 2,330 square feet. We use model rent $8.35. We apply same vacancy loss 2%, 3% expenses, shortfall 6%. Capitalization rate for car wash 7.3%. On page number 10, it's a kiosk and pump and gas bar. It's 2,014 square feet, $33.73. We apply same 2% vacancy loss, expenses 3%, capitalization rate 5.85%. Summary on page 11. For leasable area, 7,300 square feet. Altogether, we apply $18.25. We apply vacancy 2%, 3% expenses, shortfall $6 per square foot, capitalization rate overall 6.36%. We put a total adjustment for pump canopy tanks of 284,000, give us estimation of 2,267,000. It's market value of subject property of April 1st, 2021, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
I thank you. Mr. Reimer, questions of the assessor?
Ms. Shable, on the, it's really just boils down to the one question on your page 11, and to be clear, the entire evaluation was based on model-driven parameters for the subject, including cap rates and such, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, that's my only question. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Warhan?
None, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Diamond?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions.
All right. I have none either. So, Mr. Reimer, the floor is yours for your presentation.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm very cognizant of the very good questions that have been posed by the panel members, and specifically Mr. Diamond. And he's certainly got me thinking a little bit differently about some components of it as far as it relates to this property. So my suggestion, if everyone could have their pens or keyboards ready, my suggestion is going to be this. If we turn to page 16 of our materials, on page 16, the requested value was rounded figures 1.8 million. However, as I say, I'm sort of factoring in some of the ways of thinking about a couple of these items that I hadn't thought of before. And so here's my suggestion. If you turn, and this is going to be a little bit jumping back and forth, but if you turn to Ms. Shable's brief, page 11. So the effective gross income that the department's calculated for all income streams, and I'm just going to focus on all income streams, is 130,864. I'm going to suggest that I would be content with adopting that figure as a starting point, 130,864 for an effective gross income, which is the potential.
Can you break that down for us?
Well, it would be exactly as it's shown on page 11 in the three income streams that the department's applied. So it's the very same set of numbers up top.
Same. So I'm looking at that, Carrie. So the only one is the garage. Then it goes from your presentation goes up 45,000.
Well, it goes up the entire, because of the change. I had requested a vacancy rate that was higher and such, but again, because of
I'm just looking at gross.
Yeah. Oh, well, the effective gross, it would change from a total.
No, just give me the top figure, Carrie.
So the top figure, the potential net market rent,
Yeah,
would be 133,534. And then I'm suggesting a vacancy allowance of 2%, which would result in a total potential, or sorry, a total effective gross income for the property of 130,864. And then what I'm suggesting, though, for the reasons we've previously discussed, obviously the full non-recoverable expense of 5% plus the 2%, and I'll give you that figure. That then total non-recoverable expense allowance based on my revised EGI is 9,160. The shortfall allowance would be $877. And the revised net operating income
yeah,
would then be 120,827.
827.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for the reasons that I've set forth in my brief, I'm again characterizing this fundamentally as a retail property, as a standard quality, and I'm suggesting a capitalization rate of 7%.
Okay.
So if you take the 128.27 and you capitalize that at 7%,
Kerry, did you say 120,827?
827, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And if you cap that at
not 128,000.
no, sorry,
No,
120,827.
827. Okay.
Yep. And if you cap that at 7,
Yeah.
that indicated value is 1,726,100.
Okay.
And then you add in the adjustments as assessed for pumps, tanks, canopies. So that adjustment is 284,000.
Yeah.
And the revised request that I'm making this evening then is that for a total of $2,010,000. 2010000.
Okay.
Thank
got
you.
it. Got it. So
Yes,
you're off from the city, 267,000.
That's correct.
Okay.
Kerry, excuse me, can I please have that amount again that you're asking?
2,010,000. 2010000.
Okay, thank you.
Is that your presentation, Kerry?
That is my presentation, yes.
Okay. I thank you. Ms. Schliebel, questions of Mr. Reimer?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. I thank you. Ms. Warham?
None.
I thank you. Mr. Diamond?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Summation, either party?
No,
No, thank you.
All right. Let's go on to the last one, which is 125 King Edward Street East. Ms. Schliebel, whenever you're ready.
File number 22-1451, roll number 0700209800. We are valuing the property as a stand of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report and this assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021, $3,330,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property located on northwest of the city is situated of land area of 73,924 square feet and leasable area of construction 17,694 square feet. On page number 3, more photo of subject property with street view, triangle shape of land. On page number 4, we presented income approach for leasable area 17,694 square feet at $15.46 per square foot. We apply same 2% vacancy loss, expenses 3%, shortfall 6%, capitalization rate 7.75%. I presented same 5 comparables with media of $20.50. Based on evidence in this report, it is assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021, $3,330,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
I thank you. Mr. Reimer?
Just a couple of questions. Thanks, Ms. Shable, for your presentation. Can we turn briefly to your page 4, please? So initially, just quick question, and I believe you alluded to it, the valuation is model driven top to bottom, including capitalization rate?
Correct.
Now, the total area of the subject is 17,694, and I believe we're in agreement on that. The comparables you've got at the bottom of page 4, they range from being half the size of the subject to as low as sort of 20% of the subject, correct?
Yes, my comparables, yes.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Between
Those are my
2,000 to 8,000.
Yep. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Those are my questions.
I thank you. Ms. Warhan?
None.
I thank you. Mr. Diamond?
Yeah, Michelle, I'm just wondering on this one, where does the capitalization rate that the model uses come from?
7.75% specific for this property. It's a still office portion on page number 6.
Yeah.
It's outside our section percentile 5.6 to 6.9. Because original this building built in 1972 plus location, it gives us model driven 7.75%.
Okay. I don't agree that it's an office, but anyway, that's fine.
It's occupied by Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation. It's a lot of office space there.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I thank you. I have no questions. Mr. Reimer, your presentation?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Could we turn just very briefly to, pardon me, my page 13? So again, we've got a chart with vehicle service garage related tenancies ranging from $17 down to $10 a foot. Now, in this case, as I've mentioned, the size is very significant. It's 17,694. And to be clear, there was actually the original building, which is comprised of roughly 15,500. That building was built in 1972, as Ms. Shable just alluded to, and then there was a very small addition in 1985 of 2,100 square feet. So the overwhelming majority of the subject is 1972 vintage, and then you've got the small 1985 addition. Based on the size of the subject and with reference to the lease comparables that I've listed there, we're applying a net rent of $12 a foot blended rent to the entire premise, which results, as you can see at the bottom of page 13, of a potential rent of $212,328. If we then turn to page 15, so taking that $212,328, we've applied a vacancy allowance of 4%, which is more in line with the retail parameters for retail stores rather than the 2%. So there's a slight difference there, although that difference wouldn't be significant. However, we are, of course, asking for the 5% non-recoverable, and we're actually applying a lower cap rate for the property. I personally believe the 7.75%, I wasn't comfortable with that. And based on my knowledge of this property, I'm suggesting a capitalization rate of 7.25. The 7.25, if you recall, is at the higher end of the top quality or lower end of the standard quality properties, and so 7.25% made a little bit more sense to me. So capping it at 7.25%, I come in at a suggested value this evening of $2,556,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reimer. Ms. Schlevel, questions of Mr. Reimer?
Yes, please. On page number 13 of agent brief, you have comparable 6, 7, 8, 9 on McPhillips, I don't know, street, only $12 per square foot. If you open my page, my comparable page 4 on McPhillips 1064, lease in 2020, $15.50.
Oh, sure. I've
It's
got
much
an
higher
I've-
that you showed in your brief.
No, but it's not the same comp, Ms. Shable. I've got, if you look at index number 8, we've got the October 2020 lease, which is more recent, or the same vintage of 6,238 square feet at $12. So it's a similar vintage. Actually, it's a bit newer building, much closer in size. And certainly I'd suggest that's an appropriate bench line. I am familiar with your comps, but I wasn't comfortable with them. They're, for the most part, significantly smaller. If you look at my index, I believe actually my indices 11 and 12 are the most comparable in terms of both size and location, but I am using the $12 rate.
Would you agree that subject property, it's the Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation has more office space compared to normal vehicle service garage?
I would agree with that. Yes.
So its rent will be much higher that you requested, correct?
No, not necessarily. The blended rate, don't forget, Ms. Shable, this is still 17,800 square feet, which is larger than actually either of our comps, by your comps by a large margin, and even with my comps for the most part. That's why the $10 rate for the two best in terms of size and vintage, the two best comparables, I bumped that rate up to $12. But yes, I am agreeing with you that there's a higher proportion of office finish in the subject.
Thank you. No further questions.
I thank you, Ms. Warhan.
None.
I thank you, Mr. Diamond.
I have no questions, thank you.
Just a couple of questions, Mr. Reimer. Did you get a chance to look at the leases?
Sorry, the lease is in my lease comp chart?
For the subject property?
Oh, it's owner occupied, Mr. Chairman. The
Okay.
$12 rate is a market rate, yeah.
Okay. And, okay, I have no further questions. Summation, either party?
No, thank
No,
you.
thank you.
All right, I think that about concludes Mr. Reimer. Thank you for your presentations
Thank you.
and results very soon. Ms. Shable, thank you very kindly for your presentations. And I think I have to say this here. We have heard all the items scheduled and this hearing is now adjourned. So
Thank
thank
you.
you very kindly and good night all.
Good night.
Have a good
Except
night.
for the panel members.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.